The most incredible thing about this documentary that as of today, there are 862,000 views on YouTube, which is way more than what we were ever expecting, which is just amazing.
Hi, I'm Alex.
And I'm Alice.
And we're both project managers at Esky.
Today we're going to be discussing our documentary, Vaping Demystified. Before we go into this, we just want to start by saying we understand the health risks of smoking, and whilst we're not trying to glorify vaping or encourage non-smokers to do it, we're just trying to emphasise how much safer it is than smoking.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously there's a lot in the media at the minute around sort of underage people buying vaping products, which is obviously a really big issue in itself. Which is something that we're actually working on as well on a different campaign. We're doing some research into that to understand that further. So obviously we would not be promoting this to underage people or anything like that. So I think that's just really important to cover before we go into this.
Yeah.
So the brief was to position Yorkshire Cancer Research, which was our client, as the leading authority on cancer in Yorkshire.
To educate the public about the relative safety of vaping in comparison to smoking tobacco.
And to help smokers make an informed choice when they're trying to quit smoking, so using vaping as a quitting aid, which I think is the only time that vaping is really encouraged in that position, is to obviously get off smoking, which obviously has a lot larger or more risky health effects.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So what is it about? We created a 30-minute documentary featuring health professionals and human interest stories in response to a challenge from our client, Yorkshire Cancer Research, as part of their commitment to reduce the number of people in the region who smoke and go on to get cancer as a direct consequence.
Public perceptions are getting more and more out of kilter with the evidence. So people are thinking more and more that e-cigarettes are harmful.
It's supposed to be a substitute for tobacco, but I think it's probably as bad as tobacco.
All smoking is harmful, to be fair, so it will have its side effects, yeah.
Something like a third of smokers in the UK actually believe that. It's absolutely not the truth.
It becomes this ritual and people feel this pleasure within their smoking.
Tobacco smoking kills more than half of the people who do it for their lifetime. Pretty well anything has to be better than that.
The message is very clear. Vaping is better than smoking cigarettes.
I don't think it's controversial to tell people the truth.
So obviously, as we've already touched on, vaping isn't something that's encouraged if you don't currently smoke. So it's not something that they're saying is 100% safe, and that obviously if you're inhaling something into your body that's not meant to be there, it's not the best thing, but it is better than smoking. So I think that's what they were really trying to get across, because of all in the media, there was so much about like popcorn lung from America.
Yeah, it was shocking.
So many things and misconceptions that were out there that were stopping people from stopping smoking and trying vaping as a quit aid. So I think that's something they just really wanted to try and focus on, to dispel those myths and just encourage that as a different sort of way to stop.
Because I think, and I think a lot of people kind of saw it kind of like the lesser of two evils. Like a lot of people that smoked were like, well, why would I go on to vaping if it's just going to be as bad for me?
Exactly,
there's not going to be much difference. I might as well just carry on smoking.
Exactly.
But we kind of wanted to put this out to prove that wasn't necessarily the case.
Yeah, and obviously Yorkshire Cancer Research, they do so much research into like what causes cancer, which is obviously a big killer in smokers, unfortunately. So there is a lot of research that has been done. I think another thing that people say a lot is that not enough time has gone by yet from when vaping started, so they don't know what the long-term health effects are. But I think it has been around quite a few years now.
I think it has, yeah.
And obviously they've got to pass regulations. But yeah, if you watch the film, we will put a link in the description. And it will obviously explain a lot. It can be quite controversial because obviously a lot of people don't agree with it. So the key lessons we learned from putting this documentary together was the first one being that you need to know your topic. You need to make sure that obviously all the information that we put within the documentary was from specialists in the field. We made sure that we involved sort of a range of specialists and made sure that what we were putting out wasn't just obviously one-sided, and we thought that it made sense. We made sure that it was all fact-checked, and that Yorkshire Cancer Research were really clear on what was evidence-based to make sure that it couldn't be sort of scrutinised. And I think they were ready for a lot of backlash initially, but it didn't get the backlash that I think they were expecting. But so yeah, that is a good thing. But yeah, just making sure that you know your topic, you get detailed briefs, you get client experts, and that you fact check and make sure everything's accurate that you're putting out.
Yeah, because before we even did the documentary, I know Pippa and John said that so much went into the post-production, like the research, like speaking to specialists, like getting both sides, just so we could be as honest and non-biased as possible.
That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah, 'cause it's easy to be. Yeah, for sure.
Which is absolutely key with stuff like this.
For sure, yeah.
So the second key lesson learned was to localise it for media. So when it came to launching, we had something that was Yorkshire-wide. And, you know, when you want to reach out to 300, 400 different media organisations who we want to support this and spread it to their audience, they were wondering, well, you know, how can our audience relate to this? It's, you know, it's Yorkshire. We need something in there that can make them think and just relate to it a little bit more. So what we did was we looked at the statistics for different areas to help the journalists to make sure that it was speaking to their viewers. You know, it would make them want to tune in. It would make them think, hang on, like, yeah, this is happening in my area. These are the local stats. Like, I had absolutely no idea. Another thing that we had to make sure we did was to capture local case studies and even success stories, just to give it a little bit more credibility and, you know, make the viewers the face of the campaign.
Definitely. I think especially when you see something with like an accent that's similar to yours, like it is so effective. Like if you see something, obviously I'm from Hull, so if I see someone on TV that's got a Hull accent, I'm going to be more likely to think, that relates to me. And it really does work. And I think in terms of engagement and things like that, which we'll be touching on in terms of social media, I think it was definitely worth putting in that effort of getting all those different localised bits.
Definitely.
So the third lesson is looking after contributors. So obviously we worked with a range of people. We worked with professionals, just the public, just getting vox pops on the streets, just making sure that everybody's happy, everybody is aware of what's going on, everyone's briefed, and also making sure that everybody has sight of the documentary before it goes anyway is obviously really important. So yeah, we just wanted to make sure that everybody involved, we always make sure that everybody involved knows what's going on, they're all involved in that, and then there's not going to be any surprises at the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And because it is such a sensitive topic, obviously we need to speak to those who are mostly affected by it. So for example, in this case, it would have been the cancer community. So what we had to do there, they wanted to make sure they were first to see it, which was absolutely fine. Like, we completely understand, just to make sure it's sensitive enough. We're not saying anything too offensive, but we also had to make sure that we weren't saying it was the fault of the smoker and that it was a direct correlation. Because although smoking can be the cause and effect, it's not always the case.
No. So it's a very, as you say, sensitive. You've got to approach it in a really empathetic way.
Yes.
And I think that's important in anything you do, really, in life and in the career. In terms of doing interviews and things like that, it's really important to get on board with people and make them feel comfortable. And it really shines through, I think, in interviews. When someone feels comfortable, it shows. So it's 100%. Definitely worth putting in that initial effort.
Another thing with the documentary, what we did was when we launched it, we did a preview. So it had all the contributors, it had all like services there to come and watch it. And we did a Q&A inviting the media. And it really did make a difference having those contributors there and able to, you know, give their feedback. And it was almost like seeing it live in action. So you see them on the screen and then you're able to speak to them, which really can make it really powerful when it comes to launching.
Definitely. And it's like they're part of a thing. People like to feel part of something. And I think especially a message like this, it was really nice.
So the fourth and final lesson learned here was social media advertising. For starters, all the interviews we did had to be through Zoom during a pandemic. So although it's not the most engaging way, we were still getting all the great information that we needed to make it work, which was great. But following the launch, we did have target advertising. And because vaping is obviously such a controversial topic, we found we were getting blocked by Google, Facebook, around what we could and couldn't advertise, which is literally like the story of our lives. Yeah. It happens with every campaign, I think, we've tried to do. We were getting knocked back for essentially promoting smoking, which was obviously the complete opposite with what we were trying to do. So we kind of just had to work around that. We had to be careful with what we put out, the way we worded certain ads. Some stuff worked, like some trailers worked and everything, but it was just like the little bits that didn't. Yeah. So we just had to figure a way around that, which worked really well. The most incredible thing about this documentary, that as of today, there are 862,000 views on YouTube, which is way more than what we were ever expecting, which is just amazing. And I think there's only around 50,000 of those that actually came through paid advertising, which is mad, which means the rest were purely organic. So that's through Reddit, Twitter, YouTube recommendations, and even word of mouth. Like, I know a lot of people were just not even putting it on socials, but like going up to the friends and families who maybe smoke and we're saying, I think I've just seen this amazing documentary, like you really need to check it out if you're thinking about quitting smoking. Or even if you're not a smoker, it's just so informative. Like, I personally don't smoke, and I thought the worst of vaping, but like watching this, again, it comes from an unbiased point of view, but it really does change your opinion about it.
It's important to have that space where it's just all the misconceptions are kind of just squashed, because I think you can look on the internet, you can read so much, all this advertising from America, like all these scare tactics that a lot of them probably come from the tobacco companies, which I know that a lot of them have shares now in or own the vaping companies. So they are moving into that industry. But I think obviously they didn't want people to be vaping at first because they were stopping smoking. So I think, just having that, there's things that I didn't know, like, and I think that, it's a really good watch. I think anyone should watch it.
Well, thank you for watching. We'll pop the link to the documentary in the description.
Thank you.
Bye.